Hey guys, Drifter here. Today I've got some good news for you, which is that I am fully vaccinated. From my beautiful face and head all the way down to my disgusting and crusty toes, I am filled with COVID-19 antibodies and I should not be able to contract the virus, which means my watch is done. Back in early February, the very beginning of the month, my wife and I decided that we wanted to be part of the solution and not the problem. We did not want to accidentally or asymptomatically spread coronavirus to others. We didn't want to be part of any infection chain, and we kind of didn't want to get COVID ourselves because it was a very unknown and new kind of disease and it was kind of scary. So we decided we're going to do what the CDC says that you're going to do. We're going to lock down, we're going to socially isolate, socially distance, and we are going to get everything delivered to our house, and we are going to go out into the outside world as little as humanly possible. And that is exactly what we did for about 15 months now, which has been a horribly mentally damaging experience that we're going to talk about today. It's almost more of a mental health video. I mean, as an example of time, this is my quarantine hair. This crazy hair that we have going on, guys. This huge mullet that we have going on back here. This isn't even the whole story. I cut my hair in June in quarantine. I went in February. This right here, I think, is about 11 months. I've got about 4, maybe 3 more to go before I cut it. We'll have an entirely different video called The Length of Quarantine. But my quarantine was longer than it took me to grow this mullet from being slick bald, which is kind of crazy. But that really sucked. That meant 15 months of no movie theaters, no outdoor shopping in normal stores, no restaurants, no bars, no clubs, no going into stores, no family visiting at all, no friends at all, no social visits, no fun, no events, no travel, no nothing, no Christmas, no Thanksgiving, no Halloween, no 4th of July, no Easter, did nada. We did absolutely nothing for 15 months that would have been considered social, and it was horrible was the right word. Absolutely horrible. It felt like a very special kind of torture that I was subjecting myself to. And I mean, if you're going to look at it psychologically speaking, it is. Human beings are designed to be social in nature. The vast majority of us crumble and develop a great number of health problems under these kind of strains. During this time, you might have noticed that I was a very shaky individual. That's because I was also being harassed by, you saw in the previous video about swatting from 8 Thoughts and this blue guy who did most of the bad work. So my primary interaction with the outside world was talking to police and lawyers and dealing with this stuff. So I just sit here, I hunker down, I try to stay safe from coronavirus and, you know, keep my head down and chin up at the same time somehow. And it just genuinely sucked. I think it felt kind of like being in prison, but not normal prison, like a rich person's prison, kind of like how Martha Stewart probably felt while she was on house arrest. She can still do her business. I can still do my business from home. This YouTube video is, I guess, part of my business, right? But I wasn't truly free to go out. I was free to do whatever I wanted in my house, just not outside of it. I could go on walks, but I couldn't really go anywhere to do anything or stay in a hotel or travel very far. It felt very limiting, very constricting, and most of all, very lonely. Very, very painfully, awfully lonely and isolating. When you don't see people for months, it's not good for your health. Of course, we went out some into the world. We had to. There are some things you just can't do on the internet or have delivered, but we kept that as little as possible. And it was damaging. What was probably more damaging was watching that for all of 2020 and for, well, really most of 2021 so far, the rest of America collectively lost their minds. I uploaded a number of very negative videos ranting about anti-maskers and anti-vaxxers and crazy political instability in the country. Over the last year, while I've been stuck in my house, I watched something as straightforward second grade biology as a virus become a political issue. I watched people get arrested and fight over masks. I ran into anti-maskers and stuff here in my city. I had neighbors and friends and family having giant parties right in the middle of the pandemic with elderly and everything, and kind of poo-pooing on me because I didn't want to come. Like, 40-person party, let's invite grandma and grandma on both sides of the family. Hey, Brad, come on in. And I'm like, guys, that's not safe. I don't want to do that. And they're like, oh, you're being a conspiracy theorist. COVID's not real. Like, that makes me the conspiracy theorist? Great. You know, and then I got to watch all of the entire BLM movement, the riots, the police crushing the riots, and then I got to watch our disaster of an election and the fallout of that and the Capitol situation. I'm just sitting here in my house like, yep, That's great. Yep, I watch all these big things on TV and count how many masks I can find, which is not very many in a lot of cases. And it just sucks. I felt punished for doing the right thing because I genuinely believe that locking down the way that I did was the correct decision, not only for me, but for other people, because it protected other people from getting infected. And I will do a lot of things before I allow myself to cause harm to other people. It's sort of a core value of mine that I will suffer immeasurably and greatly in order to avoid harming other as a prime value. And that is exactly what I did. And I honestly don't know if I would do it again. I don't mind helping people. I don't mind suffering for others. I understand that there's a cost to do this. You can't always help people for free. Sometimes it costs you as well. But then who am I helping? Like I'm sitting here in Texas, a state that, you know, has lifted all restrictions. And it's not like the restrictions were really ever that in place to begin with, maybe for like a couple weeks or a month there. But for all of my suffering, I guess I've primarily helped people that don't care. And it's kind of scary to me how many hundreds, thousands of people there are out there that did nothing, no experience anything remotely like what I had to go through, and just YOLO'd everything, didn't get COVID at all, and will be reassured in the wisdom of their decision making and look down on me for being the dummy. And I have no idea what's going to happen when there's another pandemic for a virus that is actually much more dangerous. COVID as a virus could be a lot worse. It's not good, but it could be insanely worse. And the next time that happens, all those people are going to be toast. But no, I guess I've ranted about that in a lot of videos. But it's getting more to the point. It has tarnished my view of humanity. I have always been, throughout my entire life, an optimist. I have always tried to see the best in people. Even of my enemies, I have usually gone out and made myself vulnerable to them and been patient and tried to befriend those that would cause me harm. And I've worked very hard to do a lot of good things on this channel and elsewhere. But watching the world handle coronavirus so embarrassingly poorly with such selfishness, petty selfishness for individuals and disdain for others, and fighting and stealing vaccines and fighting over masks, and what seemed like a lot of people acting like children, it kind of made me care about people less. That part of me that used to be so empathetic and so loving was just browbeaten over and over and over again all year, until I don't think I have that same kind of love for broader humanity. My outlook is now far more pessimistic and mean and hateful even. So maybe that's a side effect of being in my house. Maybe that's a side effect of being in my house, stuck there and harassed for a year. Maybe it's because I have a stupid tumor bouncing up and down on my brain like a little gremlin telling me all sorts of bad things. But I think it genuinely changed me as a person, and not for the better. It's like waking up and realizing that you live in an NPC world and that the vast majority of the people around you are not worth your time. It's terrible to say, but it's true. It's a very depressing thought. It's something that goes against a lot of my core personal beliefs, so I don't know how I'm going to reconcile that. And I hope that as I re-enter the rest of the world, I'm hoping now that I'm vaccinated and that I can re-enter the real world, that this sort of bad world outlook, it's called bad world syndrome if you want to read about it, washes away. Maybe as time passes and I'm able to talk to friends and family again in person, and I'm able to go enjoy things like Alamo Draft, well, no, they're closed. Enjoy things in the real world like the comic book shop or the gun range or something like that, that maybe this sort of negative mentality will wash away. Maybe it was temporary. It was caused by the strain of horrible isolation and harassment and other, glandular issues or whatever. And that if I go back and start enjoying myself, maybe you won't feel it so much anymore. And so far, I haven't really had that experience. It's only been 3 days, mind you, but going back into the real world has been weird. I forgot how dirty everything was. I seem to remember my city as being very clean, and the stores mostly quite professional and looking good and always bustling and full of business and full of things to sell. But when I go out now and I go shopping and go to restaurants, I notice that everything is a little bit dirtier, that people are more skittish. They all step further back and away from you and stuff. And I also noticed a huge supply chain deficiency. It seems like every retail store I go into, there's so many empty shelves, so many things out of stock, which is weird because in America, I always grew up with everything being in stock all the time, in stock, overstock, more stock than you can get. But we're just out of so many random things. We're out of a shelf, we're out of a TV, but there's no cheese in this store for some reason. And I don't know what's causing that. I assume it's COVID, but it's still kind of a weird feeling. Half of my favorite restaurants are still mask only or, well, delivery only as well. I feel like the vast majority of the entertainment venues have changed radically. They either do not exist or they have been catering to the anti-mask crowd for a very long time, which gives you very different vibes. Everything smells like hand sanitizer. I've started going back to the gym in public places, and there's just hand sanitizer machines everywhere, and everybody's using it. Thank God they're using it, but every building I go into smells like hand sanitizer, which is a little bit irritating at that. A lot of these businesses still require masks and stuff, and I'm very disincentivized to wear them, mostly because I feel like I've done enough. I was always pro-mask. I sat here on this channel and I preached about masks and encouraged people to wear them. That doesn't mean I like them. As a matter of fact, I rather hated them. I don't like itchy things on my face, but I do what is best for other people to the best of my ability, and the mask was part of that. But now that I'm vaccinated, I don't really feel the need to cover up anymore, but I've been told that I can be an asymptomatic carrier, or that vaccinated people could theoretically spread the disease. So I have a little bit of empathy, but then on the other hand, I think I just don't know if I care. I suffered for 15 months to stop the spread of this virus. I got my vaccine, and I watched the entire rest of the world act like clowns and wild out like they didn't care. So I don't know if I should care anymore. I don't know if I should care if people get coronavirus from me. That's really going to be more of a them problem and not a me problem. So maybe I'm turning into my own villain. It really feels like Jon Snow dying in Game of Thrones and coming back. I feel like I stepped out from the world and was effectively dead to a lot of people for a long time. And I've come back, and I can just say that my watch is done. Me being Mr. Good Boy and protecting everybody and staying at home and preaching about all this stuff, I think I might have had my fill of it. I feel like I've done all the good I can do, and it's time for me to live my life now. Maybe that's selfish. God, I really have become my own villain. I am very selfish. Ugh. Social isolation. I guess I don't have anybody to think about but myself if I'm all alone all the time. That can't be healthy. I forgot what traffic was like, real traffic. I mean, of course I had to drive during quarantine, but not so much. It's been a little weird driving around. It's been a little weird interacting with people. And I think the world is, I don't know if the world has changed or if I've changed. Probably a bit of both, but I'm feeling a little bit alien, feeling a little bit disconnected from everything. It doesn't feel the same as before. And it's almost kind of like, you know, you eat at your favorite restaurant in your hometown, and then you go to college for a couple of years and you come back and eat at your hometown restaurant, and there's something different about it. Did it change while you were gone? Did they change the menu or the supplies or the ingredients? Or maybe your tastes have changed, your mind has changed and moved on to other things, and I don't know where the real line is anymore. I think that my social skills have taken a hit. My awareness in crowds and around public have taken a hit. I don't communicate as easily with others as I did before, though I still do it decently, I hope. I don't know. It's a weird feeling. It should be really uplifting. Like, it should feel great. It should feel like a freedom to go back to the world and be around people and do things, but the world doesn't feel the same. I feel like I'm stepping into a different world, a new world, and I don't know if I like it better or not. Well, really not for now. I suppose I'll see if I get used to it. I'm very much so rambling at this point. I don't know if there's a point to all of this. It was supposed to be uplifting about how awesome it was to be out of quarantine, but when I sat down to record it after being out for a few days, it didn't quite feel like that. I guess I've still got a ways to go. We're still kind of plowing through the pandemic. A lot of you are still stuck at home. So maybe I'll have an update in a couple of months and let you guys know how I'm feeling about humanity in general and retail experiences after I've had some time to actually do them for more than a couple of days. I don't know, I guess it's weird. I guess it's kind of like how prisoners get out and they feel very shaky around big crowds and stuff. Maybe it's a more minor version of that. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope you enjoyed this rant. I don't know really what you would learn from it at all, maybe something, but if you did, don't forget to like, favorite, and subscribe. Drifter out.